Hello and welcome to Perspectives. My name is Jeff Brenner and I am your host. Jen chose this topic, jury duty. Is it fair or unfair? Is it your civic duty or unconstitutional? Can you survive on $15 a day?
I had to serve jury duty about a year ago, which, at first I was kind of like, I want to do my civic duty and everything because I hadn't really done it because of, I'm an actor. So we used to have a financial excuse. We didn't have to do it. But now they've kind of cracked down on that. So I was a little agitated, but at the same time, I wanted to do my civic duty. So I went, and I had to be called back for a second day. And I was furious. And I started thinking, I'm like, is this fair or unfair? And is it our civic duty or is it unconstitutional?
Well, what makes you think it's unfair? Tell me why you thought it was unfair that you should have to go and serve jury duty.
Well, because they don't accept financial excuses anymore. Not everybody has a full-time job that pays for your jury duty service. I'm an independent contractor, so every day that I go there, I don't get paid.
So you think it's unfair because it puts a financial burden on you? There's a difference between it being a burden versus being unfair. I'm not really sure I understand
it's unfair
your issue.
because it's a burden. I mean,
Okay.
Do I go to jury duty and get on a trial for like 3 weeks and then how am I supposed to pay my rent?
Right.
As opposed to someone who, is a government worker or works in a job where they pay for your service. How is that fair?
Right. Well, I think that jurors are ridiculously underpaid. I don't understand why they're not given at least minimum wage. In San Diego, it's $20 a day just for parking.
15.
So which
15
budget from
here.
California did you want to pull that from?
Okay,
Well,
right,
it
right.
could be pulled from- it depends on what
point.
court system you're at. It could be
Good
if you're at
point.
the county courts, if you're at the city or the state court. Clearly jurors are underpaid, and what's happening is then we've got the smart people that can find a way out to get out of it, and then we've got jurors that may not be the smartest of the
Well,
litter.
I've been told in the past that the way judges, when they used to have, where you'd say you have a financial burden, they wouldn't let you out right away, but you'd go in to see the judge and you could plead your case to him and then he would decide. And oftentimes the judge would say, did you go on vacation this year? The person would say, yeah, where'd you go? I went to Jamaica. And then he said, oh, well, if you can afford to take a trip to Jamaica, you can afford to fulfill your civic duty.
Wow.
That's
Right.
I agree with you, but that's the logic of But you're talking
but
about a
not
judge who makes a
everybody.
really nice living. But
Right.
Right,
Not
but-
everybody went on vacation. Some
Right.
people are just barely struggling to
And it
make
doesn't mean
their
you pay
rent
for
or
the
bills.
vacation either.
Yeah,
But-
okay.
Well, exactly. But I think, first of all, that maybe the employer ought to be picking up some of the tab. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if it's my duty, then if you work for, say, ABC company, maybe that, they understand you have to go off, then maybe they have to pay you half, and then the government pick up
I
the other
disagree.
half.
I think that this is a responsibility. It's actually not our civic duty. It's a mandate. You get a summons, you have to go or you can
Right.
be charged. That's not an employer's responsibility for you to fulfill a requirement from the government. I think that the government should pay people if you're performing a service for the government. They're the employer on that time, and I think that they should pay you a fair amount. I think we need to ask ourselves, why are jurors
From
not
that
being paid a
perspective,
fair
yeah,
amount?
that's-
In the article she says she thinks that it's all about convenience for the courts and for the lawyers. I don't think so. I think it's that the politicians just don't care. They don't get anything out of caring about how much the jurors get paid. I mean, you see how much they care about how much union workers are paid because the politicians need the unions and unions equal power, but they don't care about the jurors. So that's
It's
why
such a
nobody's bothering to do anything about
But
it.
I don't think they really see it as paying because they have no interest in really paying you. The little money they give you, the $20 a day, it's like, okay, well, we might help you for parking or feed you, but for the most part, they have no interest in paying you because they see it as, like you said, this is what you have to do. We're not
Right.
trying to pay you. We're just trying to possibly help you buy lunch or something like
Which
that.
they don't even do that.
Right.
Which they don't really do that.
And,
Yeah.
I've been hearing more and more stories about people telling me that they throw away the summons and they've never been caught.
I've been hearing a lot of that
They don't
too.
call in, they don't register, and they don't call in. They don't get caught. But what I found in researching this one was an article where a woman who had a problem with daycare was put in jail because she brought her kids to the jury, to the court that day, because when she called in to say, I had no daycare, the sitter canceled on me, the woman said to her, well, you know, you're going to go to jail. There'll be a warrant for your arrest.
Wow.
So she showed up with the children, and the judge had her put her in jail for that day.
Wow.
That's so wrong.
That's unbelievable.
But what's wrong about that, Robert? I mean, if you have a responsibility, you know, let's say Jen, you know, gets called for jury duties, should she be required to serve, but a mom gets to be
Well, do you agree?
sent home
I mean, do
with
you
her
agree?
kids that day? No, what I'm saying is that I think we all agree that jurors are underpaid, and I think the solution is to put pressure on the politicians.
But
because
you
that's
do-
how the jurors will end up getting paid what they should be paid. Right now, nothing's happening because the politicians don't care because there's been no pressure on
But
them.
my point is, do you agree about civic duty?
Yes.
Okay.
I
So you,
think
But
you
we're
think it's a
underpaid.
civic duty? You don't
I-
think it's unconstitutional?
I don't think it's unconstitutional. I think it's a mandate. I think we have the greatest, I mean, think about the alternative. We have the greatest judicial system in the world. And maybe I've seen too many Locked Up Abroad episodes, but you see what happens over in Bangkok and you start to really appreciate our system here. And what's the alternative if you don't have a jury of your peers? You want some low-level bureaucrat deciding your fate if you get charged with the crime?
But
have
I
you
think
seen
not
some of those
necessarily.
peers?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Right.
not necessarily
There's
jury of my
like-
peers. I don't-
But I think
There's
the
a-
part.
This is what I believe, okay? Every city and town should have their own professional jurors.
Now, here's why I have a problem with that, JD. Now, hear me out, sweetie. I'll let you speak.
But wait a minute. I like the idea. I mean, what's the difference between that and the Supreme Court, who's appointed for life?
What law
Not-
school are they going to go to?
No
before
law
my,
school.
Before, you know what? Before my fate gets put in the hands of some government workers, because that's
It is
what we're
now.
talking here.
They don't always get it right. There are
No,
tons of
you know
people
how many
sitting in jail
innocent
right
people are
now.
in jail?
I didn't
Right.
say it was perfect. I mean, not OJ. But on other ones,
Well,
I
you don't get to pick and choose. The jury's
No,
gonna
I
be-
mean,
You are too
for the
bad.
most part, they're.